Good day, everyone. Today, I will share with you about European literature. European literature is very rich and diverse. It includes works in many languages such as English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Greek, and many more. Important traditions also come from Latin, Old Norse, and medieval French. So, European literature is not just one culture story. It is a combination of many countries and languages. That is why it is considered one of the most important influences in world literature.
Medieval period. During the medieval period from the year 500 to 1500, we already had great masterpieces like Beowulf, The Song of Roland, the Nibelungen Lied, and Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. The medieval period focused on heroes, battles, and religion. The stories reflected the values of courage, loyalty, and faith, which were important to people of that time.
Renaissance period. Later in the Renaissance, famous writers such as Edmund Spenser with The Faerie Queene, John Milton with Paradise Lost, and William Shakespeare with Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth raised literature to even greater heights. The Renaissance means rebirth. It was a time when people valued arts, science, and human creativity. Shakespeare is still famous today because his plays show human emotion and conflict that are still true in our time.
In the Age of Enlightenment between 1700 and 1800, the focus was on ideas about human reason, knowledge, and progress. Writers like Voltaire and Jean Jacques Rousseau became leaders in literature and philosophy. This period was about reason and logic. People began to question kings, governments, and traditions. Literature became a way to spread knowledge and inspire political and social change.
Romanticism from 798 to 1870 focused on feelings, imagination, and even the mysterious side of life. Notable writers include Mary Shelley with Frankenstein and Lord Byron with Don Juan. Romanticism highlighted emotion and creativity. Writers like Mary Shelley mixed science with horror, while Byron expressed passion and adventure. This movement gave literature a deeper and more personal meaning.
Call of Destiny, excerpt by Alan Fenton. On the summit of a hill, in the country of Somerset stands a solitary church tower, bearing witness to the ferocity of nature and of men. It is all about of two churches that once stood here. The first was destroyed by an earthquake, the second by the command of Henry VIII. As sunset approaches, subtle details of stone and lichen, archway and dike, buttress and embrasure are lost in the deepening shadows. Silhouetted again the evening sky, the dark stone mass of the tower dominates the soft contours of landscape, uniting earth and heaven. A few yards from the base of the tower, on the mound that marks the crest of the torso, motionless figures stand, one taller than the other, seen from the valley below. Their dark shapes loom, remote and mysterious. There is a haunting and powerful aura about them, as they were not people, but primeval monoliths or statues of pagan gods in an ancient burial ground. In some strange way, they are being apart, belonging not to the present time, but time to itself. The hill is otherwise deserted, as are the woods and its foot and the countryside beyond. The red ball of the sun sinks below the horizon. The west wind was gusted all day suddenly stilled. Not a sound, not even a breath of air, disturbs the silence. Nothing stirs. In this harsh moment, the earth and all the planets that only instant before wheeled round the sun seem to hang motionless in space. Slowly the taller figure raises his hand, as if to release the world from its spell, then touches the boy lightly on the shoulder. "Shall we go? It's getting late." They begin the descent. Tell me more about him, says the boy. He was a great leader. His older companion responds, King of Britain as they called it then. When he came to the throne, the country was under constant attack by its enemies, both from outside and within. Down the step track, they joyed each for a time absorbed in his own thoughts. The boy hid buzzing with questions. But exactly, did he do? The world had gone mad. The king tried to bring it back to its senses and restore the meaning to the people's lives. He wanted to give them courage and hope for the future. But to do that, he first had to impose an order on chaos. How do you mean? Impose? The man nods approvingly. You're right to question that word. He questioned it too. The thought of using force troubled him. But after much heart searching, he decided that if mankind was to be saved, he had no other choice. He was given the power to do it. You see, power is so formidable that many thought he had been sent to earth by God, or even that he himself was a divine being. And was he? No. So, he was just an ordinary man? A brief silence. He was a man but not ordinary man. When he was a young, he found it hard to believe that he had a special destiny. He wanted to live a fun life and have a happy time, just as most people do. But as he grew older, he came to understand that he was not the same as other men, and that the road he would have to take would be a different one. Because of the power he had? Yes, and because the way he chose to use it. How do you mean? Other men would have used it for the selfish ends, but not him. He decided to fight the forces of darkness and chaos. He was a brave and cunning warrior, but he was also much more than that. A philosopher and a visionary, a wise and human individual, gallant, just, and honorable. Those who ruled by terror feared him. Those whom they terrorized and worshipped him. And in return, he loved and honored them. The ordinary man and woman, he had a dream that one day the meek really would inherit the earth. But he knew they could only do it with his help. Was there no one else they could turn to? No one else whom good men and women would follow. No other leader had courage and strength of character to meet the challenge. Not that he was only the one who saw the world descending into chaos. There were leaders in other lands who feared for the future but were too weak, or were too corrupt, or simply too afraid to act. As everything around them disintegrated, resigned to self-destruction, accepting that mankind was doomed. They had abandoned all hope of changing anything. They no longer cared what happened, but he cared. He did everything in his power to create a new world for mankind, a world based on love and respect and justice. And did he succeed? For a while, until things start to go wrong. The boy is impatient, but how? Why? I want to know everything. It's a long story. Are you sure you want to hear it? Asked the man, teasing his young friend. You know I do. A loving hand rests lightly on the boy's head. The new shawl? A mild thought furrows the boy's brow. It's just a story? Or was there really such a person? There was, says the man, adding tantalizingly, and maybe again. The boy looks puzzled. There are those who say that if ever he is needed, he will come again. The boy's eyes shine. What will he do? In the twilight, the first star shows itself. A pale silver of moon floats above the horizon. Now, there's a question, the man says softly. What will he do? Well, no, I imagine he will try to save mankind, just as he did all centuries ago. Lord knows we need saving. The boy nods in acknowledgement, though scarcely understanding. You never told me his name. You know it already. I do? In the storybooks, The boy stands still and looks up at his beloved mentor, puzzled. The man looks fondly down. You want a clue? Yes. You have the same name as that king. For a second or two, wide eyes dream, catching the starlight, then suddenly sparkle as he laughed with delight. Oh, that king! On an impulse, he cups his hand around his mouth and shatters the silence, crying out the name at the top of his voice. Arthur.
Call of Destiny by Alan Fenton is part of European literature because it retells the legend of King Arthur, one of the greatest figures in British and European stories. The excerpt shows how King Arthur's journey is not only about battles and power, but also about leadership, transformation, and destiny. This connects to European literature's tradition of blending history, myth, and human values. In conclusion, European literature is not only about stories, but also about ideas, creativity, and the history of human thought. Thank you.